you saw the Channel 3 report, and you have sent this email exchange. Any idea about an altered slide at this point?
No, I had no idea about any alteration.
And I will tell you that the phone records reflect that on March 14th, okay, so a week after this, at 4:16 p.m., you called Philip Ramirez and had a phone call for 13 minutes, okay?
I'm sure I told him that there was a problem, I thought, on the first reading of the ordinance. I believe that's the only time, I mean, the first time I'd ever explained to him that I did not believe the first reading of the ordinance was correct.
Okay. And then at 5:16 that afternoon, you received an email from Heather Hurlbert regarding revised ordinance language, and I'll show that to you right now. Let's see. And why would you be doing a revised ordinance word, well, not ordinance, but revised caption wording at that point?
Because the caption is what goes on the council agenda to be passed, and it is the intent of the ordinance that must occur before a contract can be signed.
And let me show you that. So there's an email that we see, and it is from Heather Hurlbert, and this is exhibit, 55. This is response exhibit 55, and this is on March 14. And again, this is at 5:15, and we know that you had spoken to Philip Ramirez at 4:15, and this email is at 5:15. You see that there?
Correct.
And this is from Heather to you, copying Mr. Escobar, correct? And
That's correct.
And she says, please see the proposed modified language for the council ordinance, and she provides that wording for you right there, correct?
That's what the email shows.
Okay. And let me show you, the next email is from you the same day, I'm sorry, the next day, my apologies, the next morning at 9:27 a.m., and it has the revised wording. You see that there? And I think if we go...
Yes, I recall making some edits.
Right.
To try to make sure we were very clear.
And so this is on the last page of this exhibit that we're looking at now. It says COCC 483 would be the next page. That's what we're looking at here. And do you see that, the edits that have happened there?
I do.
Are those edits that you suggested?
Those are edits I suggested.
Okay. So the changes are that the ordinance authorizing an agreement between the Corpus Christi B Corporation and Elevate for a total incentive amount not to exceed $2 million for Homewood Suites by Hilton at the corner of North Chaparral and Lomax for costs associated with the street level retail. What you were suggesting was removing restaurant and putting it public space, correct? And then removing gray box and finish out and put street level outdoor, not put in, but keep, my apologies, street level outdoor dining area activation. And then you just moved the gray box to including gray box and finish out with necessary, and then you remove and street level flood wall and dry flood proofing underlined to allow for street level access, and that to allow for street level access yours, correct?
Consistent with what I think we indicated in December and January. It was very important to us that A, the public be able to access the space, and that it would be at the street level or out facing, not interior to the structure.
And so this flood wall and dry flood proofing, I mean, again, I know that we are drawing between general FEMA compliance, which was what you understood the original ask to be, and this relates more to things you got to do in order to have the street level activation that we were looking for, or that we wanted to incentivize.
That was what I think needed to occur. So again, if you thought you were going to have a doorway or an opening out onto the street, it would present different flood issues than if you just had a wall facing the street.
Okay, I understand.
And so that, I think you'll even see something in there about glazing and things like that that has to do with the windows. And
right. And so the money, the incentive, even though it was money that was going to be used for things that relate to a building existing in a place where it can flood, the incentive was not for that. It was in order to have the street level activation and the economic revitalization of the area that comes with that. Is that fair to say?
There's a lot of stuff in that.
Yeah,
But yes, I would say that again, the goal was to make the type of improvements to the space, that area of the hotel only, not some electrical or anything else, that were necessary to have the street level access to allow, liveliness on the street.
And did it relate to being the applicant allegedly being surprised in 2022?
No.
No, okay. Did the applicant's alleged surprise play any role in your analysis of this?
Not in my personal.
Okay. Do you know, as board president, did it play any role in anyone that you're aware of? Anyone on the board that
I
you're
can't
aware
answer that question. You'd have to answer.
Well, no, I'm saying, are you aware? Has any of those people ever told you that it played a role in theirs?
Same objection at Mayor's side.
I don't recall.
Okay.
I'd prefer you ask them the question.
Well, and I think when you asked the sense of your board earlier,
I was going to mention that, but they had an opportunity to say something and didn't, but I can't say whether somewhere in this process that did not occur to them.
okay. And then after this date of March 14th, or I'm sorry, on that date, let's see, that email was, Exhibit 55 was March 14th at, March 15th at 9:27 in the morning. I'll tell you, the phone records reflect that Philip Ramirez tried to call you at 9:52 that morning. And then it shows like 1 minute, which typically in our business shows that a person tried to call somebody, but there was no pickup. And then you called him back at 1:30 that afternoon and had a remarkably short call of 9 minutes. Any memory of that phone call?
I'm not going to say I remember at all what the call was. All I can say is that it was probably like, I've revised this language, something like that.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you? I mean, I will tell you at this point, I took a more active role in this project than I normally would, but that was because of the hiccups, I will use that word, that had occurred during this process.
So that's why you were making these efforts?
Yes.
You can take the exhibit down, thank you. Were you trying to make the written and public record match the board's rationale?
I was trying to make sure that the council had the opportunity and the public to know what we passed and why, for not only the present, but for posterity, or for the future.
Was your conduct corrective and transparent?
I guess that's a value judgment. In my mind, of course, it was
Were you trying to conceal something?
not at all.
Is it your sense that the board intended to establish a program that simply reimbursed any developer for ordinary FEMA or freeboard compliance?
It was my personal sense quite the opposite, that we were not going to be in the business of funding changes that had occurred in 2022, 2023, wholesale.
Or ever.
Right, you just couldn't bring us those.
But to be fair, the flood wall and dry flood proofing mattered because they preserved the public-facing street-level development instead of raising the first floor away from the street or putting a wall.
I can understand, but I think at least my memory of what I was thinking was we understand that having that public facing with the cost associated would be an additional amount than if you had just a flat wall. And we did not want anybody who was doing any sort of auditing or anything like that later to say, well, you shouldn't have funded that. So I think if you even look at the contract and what we covered specifically in sort of the items, we were including, but only a very tiny amount relative to that space.
And there was a meeting on April 3rd. Do you recall that meeting here at City Hall?
I don't recall it.
Okay. There was, do you recall having a meeting with people, with staff about this issue?
I wouldn't, I'm not going to say we didn't. I don't know. I
Okay.
mean, it would be not unlikely that I might have.
Well, let me show you, I'm going to show you what's been marked and admitted as 56, I believe. Let's see. Yeah. If we look at this, this is an email response exhibit 56, and it's an email from Heather Hurlbert to you on April 4 at 11:41 a.m. And she says, Leah, sorry, let me blow that up a little bit. Sorry. Great meeting with you yesterday. I think it was very productive, and we seem to have everything moving in the right direction. And when she uses the word right, what did you take that to mean?
That the second reading ordinance would be presented to the council reflecting the actions of the Type B board in December and January.
Did you want to reach out to the board to see if anyone would be interested in speaking during public comment on Tuesday? And so that she's referring to an upcoming second reading, correct? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. You got to say yes for the record. I apologize.
I'm sorry. It makes sense to me.
Yes, okay. And do you want to reach out to the board? She's referring to your board, correct?
My reading is she was referring to the Type B board.
To see if anyone would be interested in speaking during public comment on Tuesday, or do you want Joe to reach out? Wanted to just give you the option. I'm working on the agenda memo amendments, and we'll send it over to you later today for a once-over. Thanks for all you do. And then that was at April 4th at 11:41. And you respond less than an hour later, probably best to send memo, et cetera, from you or Joe, and in that invite them. I'll call Alan and Diana, but best I not do more than 2. That's a concern over the Open Meetings Act? Yes. Yes, hoping meeting helped you. And she responds at 2:50 that afternoon, okay, sounds good. Clearly, she's referring to a meeting that happened. And is there a chance that you did go to a meeting, you just don't recall it?
Yes, I mean, if she wrote that and I responded, I'm sure I did go to a meeting.
Okay. And at that point, at that meeting, was there any discussion of an altered slide? Do you have any recollection of anything
I
like
have
that?
no recollection of any discussion of an altered slide.
Later on, you learn about something, but at this point, I'm asking you, April 3rd, April 4th, do you have any?
None.
Okay. And they're getting ready for the next council meeting. And so then let me show you an exhibit that is Respondents Exhibit 20 for 2024 at 6:19 that evening. Ms. Hurlbert sends you, please see the updated memo. I have incorporated the items that we discussed yesterday. The caption reflects the wording that you provided a couple of weeks ago, and this is the agenda memo, and it is for, if you see up there, for a second reading on April 9, 2024, correct? Yes?
That is what it reads.
And again, normally, as the Type B Corporation board president, would you be in a situation where you're receiving a copy of an agenda memo that's about to go to City Council?
Well, no, I didn't receive the one in February.
Right.
No, I would normally not, as it turned out.
But you're glad you're receiving this one.
I'm very happy to be in receipt of that.
All right. And on that day, that evening, when you received this, April 4th, that night, any idea about an altered slide or a FEMA narrative or anything like that?
I knew nothing about an altered slide.
Okay. That was on the 4th. Now let me show you an email on the 6th, and this is Respondents Exhibit 57. And this is an email that comes from Heather Hurlburt to you. Wanted to let you know that the Homewood Suites item will not be on Tuesday's agenda. It did not get included because there is an accusation that the screenshot from FEMA website included in the presentation to reference the October 2022 date for the Nueces County maps was falsified because the press release date of April 2022 was not included in / removed from the screenshot. She says this acquisition, I assume she meant accusation? Allegation or
maybe.
accusation?
Allegation, that's probably how I read it. Yeah.
Is that a federal document was falsified / tampered with. Just wanted to give you a heads up, okay? And that was on, I believe, a Saturday, April 6th at 1:03 in the afternoon. And you responded to her on that same Saturday at 6 p.m. Yes, thank you. Peter texted me last night just saying questions. What did that mean? What did that mean when you said that?
Shorthand for, I think, Peter texted me just saying there had been questions.
Okay, did he tell you anything about the map? Or, I'm sorry, the slide?
He said, so that the plan had been that it would have been on the council, whatever that April, not that next Tuesday, but the Tuesday thereafter, I get.
Right, we can go back to the memo.
When the
but
council meets, and I'd been led to believe that it was going to be on the council agenda on the second Tuesday of April, whatever that date is. And I received, I had a text. You had sent, it's going to be on the council agenda the second. And then I got her email about the fact that it was going to be held because there were some kind of questions. And that's the first time I had ever heard of that.
Okay. But when Peter texted you, he did not say what Heather told you, correct?
Let me look at my notes, please.
Sure.
Peter's text said, I think, we are placing, it started off on April 5th. We are placing the Homewood Suites item on the agenda for next week, okay? We did not receive information we requested from the applicant. I didn't know what that was.
Okay.
However, we anticipate that the applicant will be at the meeting on the 23rd to answer questions. And then Peter said he would call me. I have no memory that Peter ever called me.
Okay.
And then on April 6th, I get the email from Heather saying, no, it's not going on.
The one we're talking about right now.
Right.
Okay.
It's not going then because there have been allegations. And
okay. She uses the word accusation and acquisition.
Yeah,
accusation.
whatever.
Okay.
Allegations, accusation.
And you told her, Peter texted me last night, which you just told us.
Mm-hmm.
I will let Alan and Diana know, but not the others. Didn't get a chance to talk to Alan and Diana, but I will. Perhaps we should consider including item on B agenda, but we can chat. Why did you say that?
Because we had a upcoming board meeting on the 15th, April 15th.
Okay.
And my general perspective as board chair was not to, I mean, if I had information that I thought was critical to my board members, they ought to have the same information. So any sort of discussion about an allegation or a problem with the project, we had the opportunity to have a closed meeting on April 15th, and we could learn about it as a group on that day.
So Mr. Zanoni used the word questions, and Ms. Hurlburt used the word accusations, correct?
Yes, those were.
Okay. The records will reflect that on April, and so let me say this first. There was an you all had your own executive session or closed session on April 15.
We did.
Okay. And the record will reflect that on April 9th, so this would be after you've heard that there are accusations, that you called Mr. Ramirez at 9:50 a.m. on April 9th and spoke for 22 minutes.
I may have called him on that. I don't know. I might have called and said, "What's going on? What's the problem here?"
Do you have any recollection?
I don't. I'm sorry. It's been
I
2.5 years.
I understand. You do remember your phone call, though, with Ms. Hurlbert and Mr. Almaguer on March 1st or 2nd.
Yes, because of my display of temper.
Okay. Sometimes we remember things that are emotional.
Yes,
You don't remember this one?
I don't remember it.
All right. You don't remember Mr. Ramirez being emotional?
I just don't have any memory of the call. Okay. I really wish I did.
So there's an executive session that, and we're talking about a type B board executive session that happens on the 15th, correct? And I'm going to have to be careful asking you about that, and I will be, but I'm going to first just read into the record what your agenda described as what would be the executive session, okay?
Thank you.
And so it's item F, executive session items. President Oliveri referred to executive session item 3. The board, I'm sorry, these are from the minutes. The board went into executive session at 1:40 p.m. The board returned from executive session at 2:16 p.m. Item 24-0623, executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071 and Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct Rule 1.05 to consult with attorneys concerning legal issues related to incentives for development at properties adjacent to North Chaparral Street and Lomax Street, including flood wall and dry flood proofing and Texas Government Code 551.087 to discuss and deliberate. Anyway, I'm just reading to you what was the subject of the executive session, okay? Now, before you went into that executive session, you had an understanding that there were accusations, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And at that meeting, and without regard to what was stated, I want to make sure I understand who was there, okay? Do you recall that Mr. Zanoni was in that meeting?
I don't know that I can, I'm not sure I can talk about who was in the meeting.
Okay, all right. Without regard to people who were there, there were, the meeting says that there is, that the executive session minutes specifically state to consult with attorneys. And this was an executive session that included at least one attorney, true?
It would be absolutely, based on that caption, and for that meeting to be legal, it would be right that we had attorneys in the room.
Okay, all right. And if I asked you whether or not Mr. Culbertson was there, whether Randy Almaguer was there, whether Heather Hurlbert was there, whether Mr. Zanoni was there, you would not answer that question because you don't want to violate any laws that apply to that session, true?
I do not believe I can speak to who was present in that meeting.
All right. And if I asked you whether or not one of your fellow board members was there, or who was and was not there, that is something we could learn from the minutes that day, correct?
You could
Glean that?
It may be a leap of faith, but you could surmise that when we called the meeting to order and we went into an executive session, that the board members that were at that meeting were in that executive session.
And would it surprise you if the minutes indicate that Mr. Wilson was not in attendance at that board meeting?
It wouldn't. I mean, he may have had a business conflict.
Okay.
I can tell you that I know it was April 15th, and Diana Summers is a CPA,
Oh.
and so that's a, kind of an important day in the life of a CPA, having lived with the tax accountant for many years.
Yes. I will tell you that the minutes reflect she wasn't there either.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty common.
And so earlier I asked you, before you went into the executive session, you had an understanding that there were allegations, correct?
I did.
All right. And before you went into the executive session, no one had ever told you that a crime had been committed, true?
I can't say that anybody ever used that word for me, to me. I mean, basically what I think I knew was what came to me in that email.
Okay, all right. And and so based upon what your memory being refreshed here by those emails and the text that you read to us a little while ago, before you went into that executive session, nobody had ever told you that fraud had occurred, true?
I do not recall anybody ever using that word.
Okay. And so I'm going to ask you a question. After the executive session, did any of those understandings that I just asked you about, and this is just your own state of mind I'm asking you about, after the executive session, did your understandings in that regard change at all?
I would say, in my mind, after that executive session, I had more understanding of the allegations that had been submitted.
Okay. But your understanding was that they remained allegations?
Yes.
Okay.
In my mind, I would say that it's okay for me to say that.
Okay. Again, I'm asking you about your own state of mind.
Well, and let me say why I would say that.
Sure.
So not only me, but 4 of the members of the Type B board walked out of that closed session.
Excuse me, if she could limit her comments to herself, her own state of mind.
You can go ahead and answer. Please answer. You were talking about when you walked out.
When I walked out of there as chair, we reconvened the normal meeting, and the board was there. And any of us had an opportunity to make a motion. We could do that following, and, you know, no motion was made by anybody.
A motion to do what?
I guess we could ask for, I guess you could say, we want to get more information. We want to hold off. We need more, yeah. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna make up a motion, but we could say.
Could have made a motion to repeal?
We'd like the chairman to provide more time for us to get more information before she signs a contract, something like that.
Yeah, and none of that happened.
I mean, the record's on video.
And the record reflects that none of that happened, true?
The record reflects that none of that happened.
Now, I want to jump with you. We're going to now, that was on the 15th. I will represent to you that the council itself had its own executive session the following day, the 16th. And then the following week, this item is placed onto the April 23rd agenda, okay? And at that meeting, you spoke, correct?
I did.
Okay. You stood here at this podium that I'm standing at right now, and you addressed this council, true? Not this council, the council.
My memory was I was asked to come up and speak.
Okay.
I didn't speak in public comment or generally on the item. I was invited to come to the podium. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I think happened.
You spoke, this council has the full benefit of that entire meeting. We had the whole, this council has the full benefit of that entire meeting. We had the whole thing. It's submitted as an exhibit. They can see it anytime. They've watched a lot of it already. And I want to play one portion of it for you, and this is after you spoke. Mr. Zanoni briefly spoke, okay? And right now I have up on the screen Respondents Exhibit 59. And that's you there, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me play this real quickly for you. This is just a brief clip. Oh, sorry, my audio is messed up. 1 second.
It's on the right thing.
Here comes Johnny on the spot.
Something like that in my house.
I think it should be on the right seat there. Aha.
Hold on. Thank you. Hopefully this works. Still didn't work. Sorry. Thank you.
Absolutely, glad to help.
Mr. Flood, we'll go ahead and pause while you fix that real quick.
I stumped him.
And we have, yes.
It was working earlier, so I
I
don't know
know.
what could have happened.
And she's back. That was a quick.
Fresh break.
Wonder if yours will work. It was working earlier.
Try my cord. See if that makes
We
it
need a 7-year-old.
No.
I tried.
Valiant effort. Try my computer if you want. I mean,
Okay. You got it down there?
yeah, well, this is not
Oh.
it.
Let's just try his.
Yeah, switch it over. Just plain one.
It's not working. All right. It's not my computer.
We'll go ahead and take 5 and let you guys
My
work on the
apologies.
connection. No, thank you.
Not sure why it's not working.
All right. Everyone present? All right, Mr. Flood, you can proceed.
Ms. Oliver, you ready to proceed?
Yes.
Okay. On the screen, I'm going to go ahead and show the video, although the audio is going to be a problem. Hopefully that'll come up. Can I have at least my video? Wow, I've gone from audio, video, to just on video to neither.
Mirrored right.
Here,
I'll undo.
thank you. I'm gonna. Down here. Well, where do you want to click?
And Becca? You'll have set to doc cam over there. Okay.
My apologies. It worked perfectly earlier. I have no idea. Whatever. I'm inclined to just simply show my computer so y'all can see. Honestly. I'm happy to do that. I'm ready to. I don't want to take any more time. I'd rather just, I can get the point across exactly here and do it the old school way.
Okay, IT is requesting a 5-minute recess if you do want the video. They need another, but if you don't need it.
No. Let's do this. We got it. Okay. So, Ms. Olivery, I was going to show you a video that was captured from the April 23 meeting, okay?
All right.
And this is, you are there. You can look over here. You might have to squint a little bit, but this is you over here. And then when you finished your comments, Mr. Zanoni spoke. Do you recall that?
I do recall that.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and push play.
Leah, Mayor, if you, this in part follows up from Ms. Olivari, but also to Councilman Hunter. So, on the merits of the $2 million, the city staff supports what the Type B recommended it for, which was just for what Leah just said for ground floor activation. We're going to roll the tape here in a moment that shows Leah at the Type B board with.
Oh.
No.
So people can hear it firsthand. So that, without any doubt, we support that.
So, Ms. Olivery, I want to ask you about it. So you were standing here, and Mr. Zanoni was over there. And
Because he's omitted a portion of it where he talks about, he recommends it for the second reason, but not for the first reason, I believe.
I thought that was in there. Here, I'll read to you.
Thank you.
If we, oh, wait, I think you're confusing the deposition, but that's okay.
No.
It was, yeah, Leah, Mayor, if you, this in part follows up from Ms. Olivery, but also to Councilman Hunter. So on the merits of the $2 million, the city staff supports what the type B recommended it for, which was just for what Leah just said, for ground floor activation. We're going to roll the tape here in a moment that shows Leah at the type B board with her so people can hear it firsthand, so that without any doubt, we support that. The issue for staff is that there's still some uncertainty in some of the information, and we're working to get that, and let's roll this tape real quick. And then the next thing was, Leah, you started to make some statements after that, before your tape. But I just wanted to ask you about what you just heard from Mr. Zanoni, okay? Wait, this is your computer? Yes. Thank you. And I'll at that April 23 meeting, you have memory of that meeting, do you not?
Yes.
Okay. Councilman Hernandez, who is here on the dais right now, at that meeting made a motion that would have sent the incentive back to type B for a clarification of how it arrived at $2 million, okay? What did the council have on that day, and what did he and council and the staff have that already answered that question?
Well, they had the revised or the corrected memo that went with the agenda item, and they had a copy of the contract, which was specific about what we were funding.
And they had also available to them the Type B board president, right?
That's correct.
Did you have to be somewhere that day?
No.
Were you
There, I needed to be there.
Okay. Were you available to answer any questions that anybody had about anything?
I was available to answer any questions anybody had.
Okay. Now, you know Mayor Guajardo, correct?
I do.
And you knew her in 2023, true?
I knew her in 2023.
And have you worked with her on projects?
I have worked with her on different community projects, yes.
Do you have a social relationship with her?
I do not.
Do you have any sort of personal relationship with her?
Well, other than working with her on community projects, but, I mean, we would certainly say hello to one another if we passed each other, and
Sure.
how are you? But, yeah, no, I don't have any.
Your contact with her is in a professional fashion.
Exactly.
Okay. And you were chair of the board that actually decides whether to award the incentive, true?
That's correct.
And today we have talked about that the EDC received and processes the application, right?
The EDC receives and processes the application.
If you would, tell this tribunal about all the contact that you had between you and my client, the mayor, in that part of the process where the EDC received the application. Tell us about all the contact you had with the mayor in that part.
My only memory of a contact with the mayor about this project was I got a call. I may have gotten an email and followed up by a call the night before the meeting, and then a call that morning asking me if I would be able to be at that council meeting in the afternoon. And I think I said, Mayor, I was already planning to be there, so yes, I will attend.
And I asked you about that time frame back when the application happened. In that time frame in 2023, did you have any contact with the mayor in 2023 during that application process?
I don't recall any contact with the mayor, any council member.
Okay. I'm going to ask you also about when the EDC board considered this in early November. If you would, tell the council all about any contact you had with the mayor during that time frame in November.
I don't recall any contact with the mayor in that period, nor any city council member, nor any CCR EDC board member.
And when the Type B considered this for the first time, same answer, you had no contact with the mayor at all?
I don't recall any.
When the Type B board was working on this in December of 2023, and you made your decision in December 11th, any contact with the mayor in that timeframe?
Well, I want to be very precise about any contact.
Sure.
Okay, I may have had contact
About
with the
this.
mayor about other items, subjects, community activities, military, whatever. But I do not recall ever having any specific discussion about this downtown project.
January, no contact about
Nothing
from
that
the
I
mayor
recall about this. No, sir.
After the February 20th meeting, okay? When you found out and you sent the email March 1st, around that time frame, any contact with the mayor about this?
I don't remember any contact with the mayor.
When you had the executive session, the Type B board executive session, that on April 15th, in that time frame, any contact from the mayor at all?
No contact regarding this item that I recall.
Okay. And the contact that you have talked about is the one asking you if you would come speak at the meeting, or to come,
Well, would I be available to attend the meeting?
and you told her
I
was
plan to be
already
there.
planning on being there. All right. Ms. Oliver, I want to, on behalf of myself, a 62-year Corpus Christian, want to thank you for your service to this community, okay? And have you understand my questions today?
Yes, sir, I have. I'd like to ask you to also include the other members of the board.
Thank you. And I neglected that. I apologize that, but, and I was actually referring to all of the work that you've done on all of these boards and all of these things.
Thank you.
And earlier I asked you about, the fact that this is all volunteer work. And so that's what I was thanking you for, not just your service on the Type B.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And with that, I appreciate your time, and I pass the witness. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I proceed?
Mr. Allison, yes.
Thank you. Ms. Olivari, I think you know, my name is Doug Allison. How are you today?
I do.
You doing all right today? So
I've
far?
had better days.
Okay. Hey, just real quick, he asked you, Mr. Flood did, about contact with the
Is
mayor.
there a way, I'm looking at that mic, and so I can't really see your face. Thank you. You have a line. Thank you.
Okay. He asked you about contact with the mayor back when the CCREDC was looking at this project. Do you remember those questions?
Yes.
And he also asked you about contact with the mayor while this project was in front of the Type B board, right?
Yes.
And I think probably even through the first reading, is it fair to say for all of those periods of time, you did not have contact with the mayor about this project that you can recall?
I have no memory of having any discussion, contact with the mayor.
Okay. And that doesn't surprise you at all, does it?
No.
Okay. And because of that, you realize too, because you've sort of said that clearly, from your recollection, you didn't hear anything about, I guess, the altered or forged or tampered document. You didn't hear about that till it sounds like about mid-March. Or no, sorry, about mid-April, right?
It was, yeah, April, yeah.
Okay. And so, I mean, and you know that it was pulled back on the 27th. Maybe you do, maybe you don't know this. There's recordings of other people talking about it. There's a lot of knowledge. There's a written March 7th email. There's all kinds of earlier knowledge about the altered document before you knew about it. Fair enough?
That would be correct.
Okay, so in that sense, you were kept in the dark for quite a while.
I think that would be an adequate characterization of what I was kept in.
Right, and so here you are having been kept in the dark. Here you are having been not talking to the mayor about it in the early stages of this project or of the proposed incentive award. And here you are, you realize too, and you've not been accused of any wrongdoing, have you?
I hope not. No.
Okay, yeah. In other words, if you're away from the mayor and if you weren't in the loop on it, pretty clearly no one has made any allegation against you, right?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
Okay. And you understand that the allegations in this case, in this impeachment process, are very different. And by that I mean they're not talking about your conduct or what you did or what you said to the mayor. the allegations of impeachment have to do with the mayor's other conduct, that because you were in the dark, you are not connected to those other things, correct?
I think I've disclosed what I was aware of.
Fair enough. And one of the things that you disclosed in your testimony, and I appreciate it today, is I think I probably have it 5 different times in my notes where you either refused to testify in some instances about what happened in closed meetings, correct?
That is my reading of the Texas Open Meetings Act.
Pardon?
That is my reading of the Texas Open Meetings Act, is
Right.
that only a district judge can release the proceedings.
Right, and you've been very, I'm not criticizing you by saying this either. You've been very specific in making sure this group knows, by the way, you have a lawyer here also to make sure we don't talk about things that happened in closed session, right?
Yes, not only my lawyer, but in our discussions with Mr. Flood previously, I explained to him that these were my lines and I wasn't going past them.
And you probably know, in fact, I'm sure you do because of your experience that has been explained to us, you know that if you violate confidentiality of these closed meetings, that is actually, there's a law that makes it unlawful, correct?
I'm aware of that.
And that would be a violation of official duties, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so if somebody, for example, would it be your practice to be in one of these closed meetings and be texting the applicant and talking to them about the project?
You know, I can't do too many things at one time, so it would not be my practice, but I'm not saying I haven't seen it of other people in closed meetings.
Okay, but you know that you're not supposed to be talking about what
I
happened.
don't know what the rules are about.
Well, you just said
Wait, I do not know. I mean, somebody may be texting something about, did you let the dog out? I mean, I don't know what the subject matter of a text is.
yeah, no one's saying that's
Okay.
no one's saying that's unlawful, right?
Well, I thought you were kind of implying, sir, I'm sorry, maybe you can restate the question for me.
Fair enough. Now, just so you know right now, if you text home or you text somebody and you say take the dog out, or if it's something unrelated to what's happening in the closed meeting, I'm not criticizing that. Do you hear me loud and clear?
I hear you.
Okay. But if you're texting about the what's going on in the meeting or leaving the meeting and giving somebody inside scoop about what happened in a confidential meeting about a project, that would be a violation of your official duties, right?
That is not something I feel qualified to make a determination on.
Okay. Well, you said a moment ago it would be a violation of official duties. You stick by that
I
testimony.
did not think I said yes to that, sir. If I did, I correct the record. I do not know that I know. I said I understood. I thought the question was that I was not to release or talk about what occurred among people in a closed meeting.
For example, if you leave a closed meeting and let's say the issue was an award of $2 million that the developer was hoping for, and you leave the meeting and only 1.4 million got approved, or excuse me, 1.043 million got approved. If you leave the meeting and you pick up the phone and you call that person and you say, hey, we didn't approve what you wanted, that would be a violation, right?
Objection. The question, the suggestion relates to, the suggestion in the question is intentionally mischaracterizing prior evidence in this case. He's suggesting that the EDC meeting is somehow an Open Meetings Act restriction because the line of questioning relates to the Open Meetings Act with this witness. And so it's just a mischaracterization.
I'll rephrase. If you leave a confidential meeting, and you know the CCR EDC meetings, closed session, are supposed to be confidential, right?
I'm not a member of the CCRDC board. I don't know whether they have open and closed meetings or whether a given discussion was or was not.
Okay, the mayor's already testified it's a confidential meeting. Do you know what confidential means?
I don't know what her definition of confidential is. I mean, I understand the word when it comes to dealing with a business prospect, that you might sign a confidentiality agreement or I mean, I understand the definition of the word, but I don't know their definition in that context.
Okay, well, you said you understand the definition of the word, so using your definition, if you leave a confidential meeting and you call up the person and you say, hey, I know you wanted $2 million, but we only got you 1.043 approved at this level. If you say anything like that, I mean, would that be a breach of confidentiality?
I mean, I would not do that. Let me put it that way.
It would be a breach of your sense of your official duties.
That would be yes. I would
Okay.
feel like I should not do that
Okay.
until an action had been taken by the
When does the mayor get special treatment, or is she bound by the same rules of confidentiality that everybody's in?
I'm not part of the jury here.
Pardon?
I'm not part of the jury here.
Yeah, I understand that.
I
My
mean,
question
you're
is, from
asking
your
me-
years, I'll rephrase, from your years of experience, does a mayor get special treatment when it comes to confidentiality, or does the word confidentiality mean the same thing for all people who are in the confidential meeting?
I would say it means the same thing for the mayor and all the city council members and anybody in that meeting.
Now, you also talked, I think, a great deal about, and I appreciate that during your testimony, you were very clear about when you're testifying, you're really testifying about your thoughts and your mental processes and what you did and why you did it. Fair enough?
That I testified about my thoughts.
And you recognize, for example, there are, I don't even know that for sure, but how many people are there that serve on the Type B board with you during the time?
There's 7 total.
Okay. And you're not here to speak for every one of those persons and what was in their mind at different times during this process. Agreed?
I would not dare speak for 6 other minds.
Okay. For example, do you know that Mr. Alan Wilson has already provided sworn testimony that if he had known about the alteration, he'd have voted no? Are you aware of that?
I've been told that. I've never seen his deposition.
Okay. But you recognize, though, that each person gets the right to say if they would come here and they wanted to swear an oath, each person would swear to whatever their reasons were and whether it would have changed their vote and what their mental processes are. Those are things each other person gets to do, and you get to speak only for yourself.
I speak only for myself,
Okay.
except when I summarize the action.
Okay. And when you were summarizing what you were really talking about there, and I think it was gone over with you with Mr. Flood, and that was plaintiff's exhibit number 69. If we can pull that up, please. I have it on my screen if you can go here. Do you remember going through this document with Mr. Flood? I'll spend quite a bit of time on it.
Yes, this is the Randy email to the applicant.
Yes, I'll scroll up to make sure you have the context on it.
I do.
This is the December 4 email from Randy to Philip. Philip responds the next day on December 5, and I think it was Mr. Flood's correct characterization that when you scroll down, the in bold portions of it are Philip Ramirez's responses to Randy's questions.
It seems reasonable to conclude that that was the case.
And I think you guys went through this because the portion I have up on the screen are the areas that I think were truly supporting what you were most interested for the project, right?
I would say that the line items that he reported on reflected what we thought the key elements of the project should be,
Well,
and that we would fund.
and actually this email is from before your meetings, so you couldn't have known that yet. This is
Yes, but
okay, later in time. We'll get
later in time.
Okay. But these items that we see here, and I've tried to, you've said it a few different ways, so I hope I summarize it correctly. Very clearly throughout this process, at least in your own mind, your focus was on what I'm going to try to reiterate correctly, street level access, some dining and retail space.
Revitalization of downtown through these public amenities.
Right, that public access down at the street level.
Public access was very important.
Okay,
I think if you'll recall, even when I was editing the materials from Heather, I made sure I added the word public.
right, so that people down on the street level could have access to restrooms, things like that.
Right, this wasn't building a private club or something, you know what I mean?
Okay. And which things, because here's the list of the items that you all focused on. Which things do you think, and I'll go through them one at a time. Down at the, I'll go the bottom because I think I know the answer to that one, where it says gray box finish out for leased spaces. Do you see that?
Yes?
Is that something that fell in the category of what you wanted to see happen down for this project?
Well, yes. I mean, it was some level of finish out to allow for 3 lease spaces.
Right. Okay, so that would be yes. That was within the scope of what you
Or
wanted.
it may have been, in the final contract, it may have been less specific. It may not have been 3 lease spaces, but that's the question that Mr. Onringer asked Mr. Ramirez at that period of time.
Right. And did also, for example, would the grease trap and utilities for leased spaces be something that you wanted to see paid for and done for this project?
We were not later, as if you read the contract, which I will refer you back to, we did identify some cost items, but whether or not those 3 leased spaces were going to be suitable for some kind of restaurant use, which was when you need a grease trap or that kind of thing, we left that, I think, somewhat flexible. And I'll say that and nothing more.
Okay, so if the 3, you just said it there, the 3 lease spaces were gonna be for restaurant, then maybe the grease trap would be needed.
Well, I'm not an engineer and I don't know what's required. I mean, maybe even if one of them was, there would be a grease trap required.
Okay, but did you want the grease trap to be included in what was being paid for?
I would refer you back to the contract. I'm not looking at it right now, but I think we listed in that contract items for Randy and the EDC to audit in the future to check for compliance, and it has a budget for various items.
Did you want to be paying for covered seating and shade canopies?
I don't think that would be out of characteristic for being able to activate these street-facing restaurants.
That sounds like a yes. You were willing to pay for those.
We were willing to pay a certain level of furnishings, I guess, whatever you want to call it.
You were. Just speak for yourself, right? You were.
I was.
Okay.
Well, again, at some point, the contract is what we were. The whole board passed that contract. So you're asking me to go back at a period of time when Randy has been giving questions. It further developed into the final contract. So when you ask me, it may not have, that may or may not have been something that I specifically quizzed on. All I can say is there was a final contract. It included 2 major elements. One of them was some, what I would call sort of infrastructure or build out, and the other one was the jobs.
Okay, just when we look at this one, which you and your lawyer were looking at, or Mr. Flood was looking at, were you okay with the Type B board paying for concrete at outdoor dining patio?
I'm going to refer to that document.
Okay, so you don't know.
I know what was in the we can go through the document. Why don't we pull that up?
Were you okay with paying for glazing facing chaparral and outdoor dining area?
That was these are all possible, reasonable things in order to activate street level.
You're asking about the contract, and so I'm going
Right.
to try to, let me just, hold on one second there.
Oops.
This is exhibit number 50, and I wanted to find the one that had the right cover page on the front. It's already in evidence, I believe. Is this the contract you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
And so tell me, in this contract, what the public spaces were, and I guess we'd go to the,
That's Exhibit A.
right, that's here, right? Do you see that, ma'am?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And when we look at this, do you see these look like the same things we were reading off the letter a moment ago, where it talks about glazing, and I'll see if we can flip back and forth for you, but glazing, concrete outdoor patio dining, covered seating, grease trap, and gray box finish out?
Yes.
Those same items were in the final contract, what you view as the final contract that we have up, and that's
This was an exhibit to that final contract?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and when you add those amounts up, the 210,000, 50,000, 35,000, 45,000, and 150,000, that comes to, see if I can help here, the 150 and the 50 are 200, added to the 210 is 410, add 80, you get 490?
Okay, which would bring you to the $2 million.
Is that correct? Those add up to be 490?
And that's the actual language that ended up, and so I will say now, looking back at that, I didn't want to use my memory, it's similar to what you saw, what you presented earlier.
Well, that's what I want to do, is let you see it directly for yourself.
I wasn't going to remember the language explicitly, especially
Yeah,
at this
I was
point.
using that one because that's,
It's possible it was just cut and pasted, I don't know.
my
10,
PDF,
50,
my PDF just froze.
45, 35, it looks about plus or minus the same amount.
See if I can get it for you this way.
I saw it.
You see how that matches?
That
Exhibit
looks, that
69?
appears to match.
Okay. And so the same things we see in December of 2023, we see in the May, you signed that contract in May of 2024, right?
That was, yes, those were that was the contract that the board approved in January.
Okay, but you said you never sign it until after it's gotten all the approvals from the city council.
Until there's been 2 readings, affirmative readings by the city council.
Okay, because otherwise, I mean, you can't go doing a switcherooski on Exhibit A and changing up what's in the contract, right?
Right, but you're showing me what Randy put in an email. This is what you showed the second time is what was in the actual contract.
Right, and what we see in the December 4, December 5 timeframe, adding up to $490,000, is the same thing we see in the contract you signed dated May 8th, I think.
Whatever day that was.
Whatever date it is, May 8th, I think. We see those same 4 items for $490,000 in the final version, what you regard as the final version and only version of the signed contract, right?
We see those same items.
There's the Exhibit A. And I think they are the same as what we see here on Exhibit 69.
Yes, but there is an exception if you go back. What he does not list in that list is the cost associated with making those street-facing amenities come up to code, whether it was old, new, or whatever the current code was to satisfy the floodplain flood wall.
FEMA.
That's
Okay.
the code.
And that's the point I really want to make, is because the other $1,510,000, there was also a breakdown for that $1,510,000 that when you add it up to the $490,000, you get to $2 million, right?
That was what was shown in that contract.
And let me just show it to you here. Exhibit number 52, do you see that in front of you? It's the February 2024 agenda.
I see that.
Okay, and when you look at it, you're familiar that when you do an ordinance like this, it's going to have the ordinance attached, it's going to have an agenda memo attached, it's going to have the proposed agreement for type B board. Am I right so far?
That's correct.
And that type B board proposed contract has to have an exhibit A, so you know what you're paying for, right?
It is important to have the necessary elements of the contract available to the city council.
Yeah, those are material elements. You can't have a contract without saying what it's going to be paid for.
I don't think these people would have passed it if they couldn't see Exhibit A.
Okay, and so the Exhibit A here on February 20th, do you see that it's, of course, on February 20th, it was for, quote, cost associated with FEMA AE flood zone requirements. Did I read that correctly?
You did?
And on the 20th, do you see that the contract was attached?
I see the contract attached.
You see that I'm scrolling through it, right?
I see it.
And then there's the Exhibit A to it. That is the cost estimate for what the money's going to be spent for, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's where you see the $1,510,000 and change, correct?
Yes.
And so when you add what we're looking at here on Exhibit 52 to the $490,000, that's what was being approved for the $2 million.
That plus the jobs, which
Plus-
is plus the employment. So
Okay,
in this
fair
particular,
enough.
well, wait, it's important.
Okay,
In this particular case, unlike some other projects we funded, where all we funded was reimbursement, for example, on a North Beach project, the only reimbursement, we didn't require jobs, we just would pay for the cost of extension of water and sewer to this new development. In this case, we added more. We said you not only have to have this infrastructure, but we want to see the employment numbers as well. So they actually had to meet a higher test.
okay, and I appreciate that distinction, but I want to focus then just on what the $2 million was being spent on, and that's the $490,000 we talked about a minute ago, plus this $1,510,000 we're looking at here.
I would submit to you one more time, with due respect, that it was also to produce the employment, which had an estimate presented to,
So
yes.
with your addition there, the answer is yes.
with the addition of the employment as well.
With that addition, it's a yes. You're saying yes to me.
I'm saying the 2 million was for those identified class plus the employment.
Those identified what? I just didn't hear you.
The Exhibit A.
Okay, and I want to talk to you more about Exhibit A, which we're looking at. That's Exhibit 52. Do you see that up at the top? Do you see that at the top?
Yes, I see it.
Okay. And the breakdown on those additional costs, these costs were being approved by Type B board at the time of your vote, correct? Pardon? Yes?
Let me look. Where? Fire rising mezzanine, entry stoops. Okay. Flood proofing, paint for new wall, drywall. Okay. Got it.
That's the breakdown or the detail of what your Type B board was approving, right?
Can you go down a little bit so I can see the total on that? Yes.
Okay. And so, and I'll take, right, this Exhibit A we see is attached to the February 20th, 2023 City Council meeting, right?
Yes, it was attached.
Okay, and let's go ahead and cover the time frame a little bit, starting earlier in time. Because, and I think Mr. Flood went through this a little bit with you, but remember how he pointed out that this was carried through the process, these $1.510 million in FEMA costs, they were carried through the process, right?
It would seem so.
Right. And by that, what I mean, here we have exhibit number 11, our exhibit number 11, where you see where it's signed by Philip Ramirez in September of 2023.
I'm just going to object. The witness is being shown a portion of an exhibit and doesn't even know which exhibit it is and what this is, and
The application.
isn't being.
Mr. Allison, can you?
I'll walk through it. I'll give her
Thank
more
you.
predicate. It's exhibit number 11. I think I did say that part. And do you see this is the application? Scroll into that page for you.
I see that.
And the application was that signed by Philip Ramirez on September 27, 2023, certified it as true and correct, right?
I don't know his signature, but whatever that is, it appears to be.
Okay, but you see it's certifying it as true and correct, right?
I see him certified that.
Okay, and the request back at that time was for newly defined FEMA AE flood zone requirements, right?
You are showing me the application as he
Yes.
submitted it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And the point is that it started off clearly as being an ask for FEMA because of newly defined flood zone or flood maps, right?
That was what he presented, presented to the board.
Yeah, and you're even.
And to us the first time.
Well, and I'm going to get there in just a second because I know you, but there's also, if you look at the minutes from October 12, that's exhibit number 12, I believe, on October 12. And if you looked at the minutes on that, it says that the maps now require any new construction to be built up 4 feet due to the new restrictions. Do you see that? Correct?
I see that.
That's what was represented as being part of this new big cost, right?
I see that.
And that new big cost, of course, we know now they didn't actually build up the floor 4 feet, did they?
I've never been to the hotel.
Okay, well, they did a retaining wall instead, a lot
Well, if that complies with
Okay.
the building code, then they
Okay, but
found an
here it
alternative.
says they needed it for new flood maps, so we see that they keep saying new flood maps during this CCR-EDC phase of it, correct?
That's the material you're showing me, yes, sir.
Okay. And then, here we go, if we go to exhibit number 15. These are the meeting minutes for November 9, do you see that?
I see that.
In front of CCR EDC, and in terms of what happened, you can see that Mr. Brazelton, well, let me back up. The developer stated the funding request comes after changes in FEMA flood maps made additional infrastructure necessary. So they're still on the 2 million for FEMA track, right?
I see that.
And then if you look, it says Brazelton, I'm going to paraphrase now, made a motion for 2 million and it failed. And then a second motion was made for 1,043,000 and it was seconded and passed. Do you see that?
I see that.
Okay. But still at this point in time, it's all FEMA, 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 right? You don't see anything in here talking about street level development or anything like that?
No, there's just whatever they wanted to develop as long as it,
We kind of have a double negative in there. Let me fix it. I think we're agreeing.
I think may might be.
When you look at CCR EDC documents, at that point in time, it was FEMA, FEMA, FEMA. It was not anything about street level activation, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And then you said a moment ago, we're not on, I'm going to ask you something outside of the document in front of you for just a moment. I think you've already confirmed for us when it came time to Mr. Ramirez's presentation, we know that is the one where it was FEMA during the presentation at least, right?
He did present information in those slides about FEMA and the changes.
And you now know that that slide deck included the altered, forged federal slide or website page, right?
I know now that there was a slide in there, that there was an allegation that there had been tampering with a federal document.
Okay, and that's obviously a very serious allegation, right?
I'm not, I mean, that's something for the FBI and the police and the courts.
Well, you were president of the board. I mean, if you knew, same question I asked Alan Wilson, he said no, he would not, he would have voted no. If you had known at the time, just step away from this, any kind of presentation, anything that comes in front of Type B, if somebody had come in front of you and forged a federal document to get the money, is that okay in your opinion?
If it was a federal document,
Federal writing is actually the correct word, or writing is the correct word
right,
under the
I
forgery.
would say that in my mind, having worked a little bit, federal press releases may or may not equate to a federal document. I am not qualified to decide if that is a federal document.
Is it okay to lie to Type B to get money?
It is not acceptable for anybody to lie to anybody.
Is it okay to lie to Type B and give
I
them
would
a
not
false narrative to get
I
money?
would not support anybody doing business with anybody who knowingly lies to you.
Okay, who misrepresents things, gives you false information, knowingly making misleading statements. Would you give them money? Maybe?
No, I'm not saying
Okay,
that. I
okay.
mean, what you're asking me to say is that you have presumed that in this case, I think, that there was a knowing act. I'm not saying I know whether there was. I'll accept your version of this, Mr. Allison. And so, I mean, all I know is we did not have any of that information available to us in November, December, or January. And when the allegation was discussed, obviously as it was, in April, the board did not take action.
Right. And I understand you didn't know it was altered or forged at the time. Agreed?
Okay, yes.
Agreed? Okay.
I agree.
And you didn't have the benefit. Like you said, you're kind of kept in the dark during that March, April timeframe about the forged document, right?
That is correct.
Okay, and so, for example, if we have other testimony from other witnesses, for example, that it had already been characterized before the second vote as a crime by city staff, you weren't in that loop, were you?
No, I was not in a loop that someone said this is a crime.
Okay, and you weren't in the loop where Peter Zanoni, for example, in March and April was saying, I recommend we don't go forward, I want to withdraw it. You weren't in that loop at all, are you?
No, the only communication I had with Mr. Zanoni was, as I told you, a text that first said it was going the following week, and then information from Mrs. Holbrook that said it's been held because there has been an allegation.
And on February 27th, we all know it was withdrawn. You were not in the loop on that decision-making, agreed?
I was not in the loop.
Okay. And with regard to, for example, you said my characterization of a moment ago, you are aware, for example, that the outside counsel identified it as an intentional alteration. Are you aware of that?
No, I mean, I don't know who the outside counsel is.
Okay, you're not in that loop either.
No, I'm not in that loop.
Okay.
I'm pretty much a mushroom, it turns out.
You got your own world going on, right? Okay. And as far as the CCPD, when they identified, I think the words were, it's hard to say it wasn't intentional or something along those lines. You're not in that loop either.
I've never been interviewed. I've never read a report, whether it's from a lawyer or a police officer or even, frankly, the auditor.
Yeah.
And I've never been nobody's ever interviewed me.
And you were, though, obviously back at the time it was in front of type B, you were in favor of that $490,000 going to street level activation, right?
Absolutely.
But then when we saw the exhibit in a moment ago, 52, you say you were against, for policy reasons, you were against the $1,510,000 for FEMA.
We did not want to be just a FEMA bank.
Right.
I believe I said.
Right, but
We thought we had added additional components to this request, namely that it had to have this public street facing, and that came with some additional cost. I'm not going to do the engineering breakdown or the architectural breakdown, and that it had to have the job component, both of those.
Right, but the way you get to the 2 million, which is what you end up signing ultimately in for you at least, the signing you're talking about in May of 2024, the way you get there is you add the 490,000 plus the 1,510,000 I showed you a moment ago.
Except that does not include the jobs.
Exactly, you made that distinction
I'm
earlier.
going to make that distinction again and again.
Okay. And then we see, though, even though, because we know that during the Type B board presentations, we've talked about that it was FEMA, 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 and we know when it came out of FEMA by this exhibit number 24, we know that when we're making the transition into city, after it comes out of Type B, it goes to city, right?
After it comes out of Type B, it goes to the City Council.
Right, and so we see this February 5th email where it's still talking, even though it's gotten through the Type B and through the CCR EDC process, we see that the February 5, 2024 email is still talking about $2 million associated for quote, costs associated to FEMA AE flood zone requirements, correct?
That's what it says.
Okay, and so, and I understand why you've come and testified what were your reasons for wanting this project. You've been very clear about that, right?
I hope I've been clear, maybe
Okay.
boringly clear.
But you saw in the meeting minutes of CCR EDC, all of those people who voted unanimously for it were voted, it says because of FEMA, right?
The CCR EDC is an advisor to us.
I know, ma'am, I'm asking you a different question.
I'd never seen those minutes until now, so yes, that appears to be why they sent it to us, but they are an advisory body.
So all the way through the CCR EDC process, we have however many members there are of that board, plus all of the staff at CCR EDC, they're all on the tracks for 2 million for newly defined FEMA, right?
That was the way it came to us
Right.
Initially.
And that's what, 10, 15 people?
I don't know how, I'm sorry, I should know, but I don't know how many board members they have. I think probably staff members, it's probably 3.
Yeah, so, okay, 3 plus 7, 8, 10 people, more or less.
Again, I don't know how many board, and I don't know how many were present at that meeting.
And those same 3 staff members serve as staff for the Type B board, right?
They were advisors to us,
Right.
yes.
And then you have several members on your board, you've said that already, right?
We are a board of 7 people.
And then we know some of those, we know at least Mr. Wilson has said that he would have not voted for it, and we've heard you say you would have voted for it because of what you thought was important, which was the downtown street level access, right?
Did Mr. Wilson say he wouldn't have voted for it because of street level access?
No, ma'am. He said that he would not have voted for it if he had known at the time that it had been altered, the federal document.
Then that's his opinion.
Okay. And you're not trying to speak for the others. The point is, everybody, so far the only person we've identified that was doing it only for street level access was you, right?
I think maybe you'd need to talk to 6 other members of the board.
If they want to come, they can come. Mr. Flood's, it's part of the case now, okay?
Well, I mean, but once again, you asked me not to speak for them, and I agree 100%. I don't know if I think they should speak for themselves.
Agreed. And so then what we see when we look at this email is we see obviously at least Janet Whitehead for the city when they're doing the tracking of the incentive agreement. we see that she's still on the tracks of FEMA, right?
I can understand that, as I think I pointed out earlier in my testimony. We had one attorney, Amy Alcorn-Reed. She was in our closed meetings all the way through December. And then I believe Janet took over in January. So whether there was a little bit of a baton handoff problem, I don't know.
Yeah, whether it was a problem or just,
Here's some
99
paper,
out of
here's some paper, yeah.
What was your problem is that everybody else had a different view so far, right? From what
Well,
we've seen in the documents.
I would say that what I kept seeing in the documents was not an accurate representation as to what we publicly stated was to be included in the contract.
Because when we look at Exhibit 52 in a little more detail, we see that Heather Holbert's memo also talks about it being FEMA for 2 million, right? That's another person who's thinking it that way, right?
I think now you understand why I was upset when I learned that this whole element that was so important to us had been bypassed.
Yeah, and it's tough doing that, right? You had to speak louder, you spoke loudly to be heard, right?
I think I did.
Okay. And then, but obviously this memo goes to Peter Zanoni, and he didn't come back and say, whoa, it's not FEMA. You don't see anywhere where he said that, do you?
That's the memo I see, but I don't know if there was other communications that but
Okay.
you're right, I don't see that.
Okay, and when we look at the Exhibit A, we've covered that a minute ago, it's more FEMA, right? On February 20th.
I understand.
And then when you look at the other documents attached to that agenda item, it's, you look at Exhibit A, we've already covered that, it's
Right.
FEMA, right? And then when you look at the other things attached to that agenda item, they had the flood maps to describe FEMA, right?
I do not believe, those weren't in the final contract or anything.
Right, they're not in the contract, but they're part of what was voted on that day by council.
Yes, and that, again, goes back to the fact that I was not happy.
And then when you look at Exhibit 52, I'm scrolling through, these are the additional things that were part of the February 20th agenda. You see that here's the slide that again says the 1,510,000 and change is for FEMA AE flood zone requirements. Do you see that?
I see that.
Okay, so in this you understand now on the right-hand side, that's the forged slide we're looking at, right?
I am told that there's some kind of change that was made to that slide.
Yeah, you've never seen how to make the box.
No, sir, I really haven't understood I hear people talk about boxes over boxes, but I don't really know 10
Okay.
clicks or 3 clicks, and I haven't done it.
You're still pretty much in the dark on that one too.
I'm pretty much in the dark on that one. I mean, I just haven't, I guess I would say, my personal reason was not based on that slide.
I understand. And as far as we know from looking at the CCR EDC documents, those 8 or 10 or 12 people, however many go through that process, and we know, since you said you're not going to speak for other board members at the type B level, but we see in the emails that are at the city that we went through, and we see when we look at the package for February 20th, Heather Holbert, Peter Zanoni, we see a whole lot of names that would be, and a whole lot of people that were obviously focused on $2 million for FEMA, right?
That seemed to be what their focus continued to be.
Right, and in fact, the express presentation was what we saw on the Exhibit A, $1,510,087 for FEMA AE flood zone requirements. You see that?
I see that.
Okay, and that means the other 409,000 was for your street level access, the things that we talked about, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you have a lot of people who are thinking FEMA, and we certainly know one person was thinking street level access as the primary, right?
I think it was more than one, sir, I have to say, because I think I made that statement twice in 2 board meetings, explaining that and asked if the board concurred with that statement and gave them the opportunity to make a different statement.
Would you like to speak for what was in their minds now?
No, sir, I'm just going
Thank
to.
you. Okay.
No, there's something different that you,
Okay.
with due respect.
Well, because for all you know, they were also sitting there thinking, okay, $490,000 for street level access, that sounds good. And 1,510,000 for FEMA, like all the documents say. I mean, that would be a reasonable thing to think. You can have those two different thoughts in your head, can't you?
Objection. The question completely ignores the fact that it's a corporation that can only act through a board and can only act through a motion, and the motion was clarified. And so I'm objecting because he's conflating an individual and the corporation into one question. It's either an individual or it's the corporation, if the question.
Mr. Allison.
I'll rephrase. Can a person have two reasons in their head? Oh, I want 490,000 for street activation, that sounds good to me, and I want the $1,510,000 because of what Philip stood up in front of me and said he needed for FEMA. Can a person do that?
I imagine a person can do almost anything.
Okay, fair enough. And
I will mention one thing, Mr. Allison. Part of that board package, despite the fact that the memo continued to talk about FEMA, which was another problem, contained in that was the actual contract, and every board member got that attachment.
okay. And that's this contract.
It's unsigned, yes, and it was part of the board package.
Well, I showed you that version earlier, but I showed you actually the version also where you signed a contract for type B board dated, I think it's May 8th, May 7th.
Yes, but the original that went with the January packet, because that's what we voted on in January, was the actual contract.
Right, and you made a very big point of you don't sign it until both readings are completed, correct?
I do not sign it until there is a two-reading ordinance and approval by the city council.
Right, which means both readings have to be done.
Both readings have to be done.
Right, and because it's got to have the same Exhibit A on it both times it gets read so that it's clear what the money's going to be going towards, right?
I'm not a lawyer. I'm aware that sometimes I listen to city council and I hear that there are changes made on second reading even to a document that is in a contract, or I think sometimes the council themselves ask for there to be a change.
Right, but making a provision change or a wording change is different than saying, hey, I want you to spend the money on X, Y, and Z versus I want you to spend the money on A, B, and C. Those are two different contracts, right?
I'm not going to, I don't know about that. I'm saying that the contract, my understanding was essentially the contract that was presented to the council in the first reading and the contract that was presented in the second reading were consistent with the contract we passed in January.
Okay, and once you sign it, then in your mind, it's a final contract.
I think there's a provision there's a period of time afterwards before it actually gets finalized.
But otherwise, it's a final, your signature is really the final, makes it a contract.
That's correct.
Okay.
The agreement is between the Type B corporation and whoever the project or entity is.
And let me show you for Type B Corporation, if you can put that up overhead. Ms. Huerta? Thank you. Do you recognize your signature?
That is my signature.
Okay. And this is Elevate Pages. Let me familiarize yourself with this. You see the page numbers on the bottom right?
I do.
Okay, you see this is Elevate QOF LLC, page 000283? Mm-hmm. Is that a yes?
I see the page numbers on the bottom.
Okay, and just like Mr. Flood told you, when it says COCC, that was something produced by the city, and this is a document produced by Elevate. Do you understand that?
I understand that.
Okay. And do you see that this document goes through Bates page, I want to do the last page here for you. Bates page 294, do you see that?
Is this an exhibit?
Pardon?
Is this an exhibit?
Not yet, I'm about to offer it. Go ahead, do you see that, ma'am?
Yeah, I need to see the top of that. January 18th, 2024.
Right, that's the same date that was on the signature you saw.
Oh, that was the date that they signed it,
That
not
they
the
signed
date
it.
I signed it. Okay,
Correct.
that's what I was,
Okay. And do you see this, I went back to the top of it now. Do you see this as the business incentive agreement for
I see it.
Elevate QOF?
I see it.
Okay, I'm going to scroll through. That's page 1, page 2. Slow me down if you need to make sure. Page 3. Pardon? Page numbers, I'm referring to page numbers now on the document, not the Bates page number.
Well, there's 284 is not there.
Wait, I can't hear you when you mumble. I like you, but,
The Bates numbers just don't
oh,
line up.
okay, that's how it was produced to us.
Well, we can have testimony about that, I guess, but
Does that appear to be the business incentive agreement?
That appears to be. And by the way, I would be checking for consistency, not with that number, but with the page numbers in the middle on the bottom,
Okay, thank you.
because that's our document.
Right, in other words, you'd be looking at, now we're on
I'm
page,
not going to be looking at whatever they put over there on the right side.
you're going to look at, now we're on page 11.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, that's,
Okay.
that would be the number I would be focused on.
And does that appear then to be a true and correct copy of the
That appears to be a true and correct copy of the agreement that was signed.
and we would offer this as our next exhibit number, Ms. Huerta?
well,
What number is it?
if,
I show 93. Okay, so the next exhibit would be 94.
We'd offer it as exhibit number 94.
so I would object because it's my understanding that the one that Ms. Olivery signed after the passage was already admitted and has already been, this would be,
I don't think already admitted is an exhibit, and I don't think that's true, but we'd offered it at the time the proper predicate's been laid.
I would object because it does not appear to be,
Mr. Flood, could you get
Can I get the-
exhibit number?
94?
yeah,
And you're saying that it already exists as an exhibit?
Well-
What exhibit number do you have it listed as?
Exhibit 94, which is this document, which I don't have a copy of and I've never seen, is not the document that he just went over with the witness, which I thought was a COCC document that had her signature on it, that was the contract that was attached to that. And so I'm just objecting to the record. It also does appear that the Bates numbers do not line up, which is significant from a custody standpoint, that the document, if there's a page missing through the Bates numbers, I have to object to the authenticity of it because it would suggest that there's a page that's been removed. And so if you go, I can't look at this document. I don't have it. I'm not looking at it. So I just have a foundation problem objection, and it doesn't appear to be an accurate copy of what was produced because the Bates numbers, if I was keeping track, do not line up.
Yeah, the witness has reviewed the document and testified that it appears to be true and correct, and that it has her signature on it. And so the proper predicate has been laid, and we would offer exhibit 94 at this time.
And I'd just simply request that the witness be afforded an opportunity to take a look at the entire document. We've looked at pieces of it, but she has not looked at the entire document.
I have
you
not, I don't know, let me put it this way.
Do you have a hard copy that you
I
could
do not.
present?
I do not have a hard copy.
Maybe we could just
Is it-
scroll.
You know, it may be in our books. No, I don't think it is, probably because it's 94.
Could we get that? Or could we perhaps have that section printed that you're offering?
Okay.
Thank you,
And we can get it printed for sure. But
thank you.
I went through every page on her. We'd ask for a ruling that it be admitted into evidence.
Well, and
A predicate's been laid.
I'll make another objection to it. The document is a City of Corpus Christi document. It needs to have the authenticating information on it that indicates it's from the city. This is from a third party. Well, it's from the other party, apparently from QOF. It's got the QOF Bates numbering on it. However, the Bates numbering is not sequential. As far as I can tell, I haven't looked at it. I think that's what I saw. And so either we get a hard copy to take a look at for the witness to look at, so that the testimony she gives about the document is accurate, or we simply give her the opportunity to look at it on the screen in a way that she can see the entire document
I'll go
before
through the whole-
answering
I'll
the
go through
questions
the whole
about it.
document on the screen.
Could I make a statement, please?
Let's do this. There's a protocol here, ma'am.
Sure.
Let me go ahead. They've asked me to do something with you, and I'm going to do what you said and really, tell you what, let's look at both the page numbers and the Bates page numbers. Are you with me?
Well, I just pulled up a copy of a document that I have,
Okay.
which is the document that Mr. Bakhta signed.
Okay, yours is not in evidence if you pull it up over there. We can't do it that way.
All I'm telling you is,
Are you scared of this document?
no, I'm not scared of it. I just don't remember is signing anything that had
Gentlemen,
those bottom
excuse me.
codes.
Excuse me. We've asked for the document to be printed, that way it can be reviewed, and then we will decide at that point if we will just pause for.
Okay, may I go through page by page with her so that she can look at it?
Just no sidebar comments on that.
Pardon?
Just no sidebar comments on the exchange.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does this appear to be the right title for the document?
Go back to the document that I have.
I'll blow it up a little more for you too. And I'll scroll down when you tell me, ma'am.
That appears to be the right title to the document.
And I'm scrolling through page 1. I'll go up or down if you want me to.
That looks
But do you
to
see
track.
that page 1 is also marked as, I'm going to just use the last 3 digits, Bates page 283. Do you see that?
I see that.
And does page 1 appear to be true and correct
With the exception
of the Bates page number?
of the number at the right side.
I agree with
I
we
do
agree.
not know that, yeah.
We agree with you. Those were added by lawyers afterwards.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. I'm not trying to trick you there, I promise.
Well, I know, and I'm not trying to trick you, but I was like, I don't believe I've ever seen Elevate QF in a document that I signed.
That means that they produced it to
That's-
us. I'm not saying that was there when you signed it.
That's fine.
Okay.
Because you presented it to, you know. I
Okay.
was like, okay.
Now I'm on page 2. Are you ready to look at it?
Yes, sir?
And I'll just note it's consecutive Bates page numbering, but page 2, does that look true and correct to you?
It does.
Page 3, going by the page numbers, although this one's still consecutively Bates page numbered, does that appear to be true and correct to you?
It does?
Page 4, still consecutively numbered on Bates page, does that appear to be true and correct to you?
It does.
Page 5, still Bates page consecutively numbered, does that
Living
appear to
wage,
be
yes.
true and correct?
Warranties, yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes,
Thank you. Page 6, still consecutively numbered. Is that true and correct from your review?
that is, appears to be glancing at it quickly, yes.
Okay. And don't, ma'am, and I really will tell you this too, if anybody compares it to another version and some word got changed, you and I will both stand corrected honestly.
All right.
Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay. And page 7, still consecutively Bates page numbered. Does that appear to be true and
That
correct?
does.
Is that a yes?
That does, yes.
Okay. Page 8, still consecutive on Bates page numbers. Does that appear to be true and correct?
That appears to be true and correct.
Then page, 9, does that appear to be true and correct?
That appears to be true and correct,
Still consecutive on the Bates page numbers.
yes.
Then page 10, does that appear to be true and correct?
It does.
Then page 11, does that appear still consecutively numbered Bates page and true and correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And 12.
Okay. And then this one has all 3 signatures on it, right? Including yours where you've already verified your signature.
That is including, yes, Ms. Huerta's and my signature.
Right, okay. And you're not doubting the authenticity of your signature at all, are you?
No, I'm not. That looks like my signature.
And this last page is 294, still consecutively Bates page numbered. Do you see that?
I do.
Obviously, we don't have a hard copy, but I slowed it down, went through every page with her, have laid the predicate, and asked that it be admitted at this time.
Any objections, Mr. Flood?
Again, I just object to the authentication objection because this is not a document from the city. And so I just have to level that objection. It doesn't appear to be a document that was produced by the city, and so I object on those grounds. Which is the actual document rests in this building, and this is a document that's been produced by a third party apparently, and so I object to the authentication of it. And the fact that council would not have signed an affidavit authenticating it reinforces my objection on authentication grounds.
Yeah,
Mr. Allison?
yeah, saying it came from somewhere else is not even a legal objection, or not even an objection to its trustworthiness.
Is there a motion to admit? We have a motion? I'm sorry. I think we've already settled that that is not a pre-existing exhibit.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have a motion to admit. Do we have a? We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay.
Are my objections overruled?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Because, and we know, we went through the chronology here, and you were in the dark until about mid-April, but that's when it got changed so that it became about street level access. You remember that?
That is, well, that is not when the contract got changed. The contract was developed out of our meeting in December and was passed in January.
Right, I agree with you.
You agree with,
But you didn't know about, well, the actual Exhibit A that reflected what you're saying right now, that didn't exist until we went through all those emails with Heather in like April of 2024. Do you remember that? And you guys changed the Exhibit A, changed the caption, right?
I don't know that, I'm trying to think whether Exhibit A, I thought Exhibit A was the more detailed.
Was it what?
Would you go back to Exhibit A, please?
Yeah, remember I showed you Exhibit
I know, I'd like to,
A's?
may I look at it again, just to
I'll
make
try to
sure,
find
if
it
I'm
for
going to
you.
agree to some, I'd like to make sure I know.
Exhibit A is in exhibit number 52 that we went over earlier. And it's the document you've already testified about that's right here, which has all of the FEMA cost for $1,510,000, right?
What you were saying is this is, all of this stuff was Exhibit A to the contract?
I'll show you. It's listed on here as Exhibit A. And you've already testified to it, but
Well, I mean, go back, because I think I even said, I'm not sure about that flood map.
all your earlier testimony about Exhibit 52, it's true and correct, yes?
I said, I'll say one more time, I was not sure about the flood map. I said that at that point. I do not recall that being a part of Exhibit A.
I'm not saying the actual flood maps were attached to the contract. We
Okay, so
agreed
it
on that.
stopped at 4? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that we're looking at the contract right here as it existed on February 20th, 2024.
Correct,
You see the contract, right?
right?
And then the Exhibit A, we went over it earlier, is this right here for the $1,510,000 for FEMA.
I'm just simply objected. I don't see Exhibit A on that document. I don't see, it may be, it's just you've got it so big I can't even see the document. So I can't see where it says Exhibit A on it anywhere.
Can you clarify, Mr. Allison?
or make it
Sure.
smaller so we can see it.
Sure, if we really want to do that, sure. Because it means I have to go to Lexstar.
Well, if we can
Hold on, I'll
simply,
be happy to do it for you. This is already in evidence. This is exhibit number 28. And you can see, when you scroll through it, which we've done before, but I'll answer this, I'll do it with the witness, not with opposing counsel. Ma'am, this is the internal documents of the city of Corpus Christi that show everything that's uploaded to the website and what it is for the meetings, for each meeting.
Yes,
Do you understand?
I understand. I heard you speak about it, please.
For example, you can see on February 5th that an attachment was modified and it's been added. I'm not going to beat this one up.
No, don't, please.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then you can see where the cost estimates were added on February 5th, 2024. Do you see that?
I see it, yes.
And then you can also see where right above that, where the FEMA flood maps were added on February 5th. Do you see that?
I see that.
Then you can also see where the presentation the council presentation, meaning the slides, were added, right? And you're used to that. You understand when you go to a meeting that there'll be the agenda and then it'll say what the supporting things are that have been added to it that are part of what you can click on and see as part of that agenda item.
I'm used to seeing it on Legistar,
Okay.
what is a part of that agenda item, and I've never had access, nor had I ever seen this
I'm
system.
not saying you're the one who changed it.
No, I'm just saying, I've never seen it. I am familiar with how it is presented on Legistar.
But you see that the attachments we know to this agenda item are the presentation, the flood maps, and the one we really are focusing on is the Exhibit A. You see where it says Exhibit A right there?
I see it.
Okay. And so then when we go look at the actual agenda, which is number 52 we've been talking about, you with me?
Mm-hmm.
When we go actually look at it, you see what you would expect to see, which is you see the agenda. We went through this earlier.
And then you click on it, yes.
And we see the attachments, which is going to be the incentive agreement with its Exhibit A, right?
Right.
And so when we scroll down, that's where we see we're looking at the contract, the agreement with that ultimately or sometime gets your signature that we've talked about. And we see the next page is the cost estimates, which are usually on Exhibit A right here, right?
And that was the extent of Exhibit A, right
Yes.
there.
Yes. that's the
Okay,
extent
so
of it.
when you were going through some other things, like the
Right.
rest of this, I was saying, I don't think those were part of it.
We're agreeing on screen right now also as part of the agenda package, we're looking at the flood maps, but they were not part of Exhibit A.
Correct.
That's the point you wanted to make.
That's the point I want, or anything after that.
Agreed. The presentation that follows is not part of Exhibit
It
A.
is not part of the contract.
What we looked at earlier and you testified was Exhibit A, that's Exhibit A, right?
That's my understanding of my memory of what Exhibit A was.
And that's as of at least February 20th, 2024, because that's what we're looking at here, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And so when we then look at exhibit number 94,
Are you looking for the reference to
I'm trying to find the one we had
Page
up
2.
just a moment ago. Here we go.
page two?
When we look at exhibit number 94, you signed it on January 30th, 2024, correct?
Can't quite read my own signature there. January 30th.
Okay. And so on January 30th, the only thing it possibly could have been a contract for, since you didn't even understand there was a mix-up until March, and since Mr. Ajit David didn't report it until February 25th, days, weeks, day, whatever later, I guess a month later, the only possible Exhibit A that existed on January 30, 2024 was the FEMA for $1,510,000, the one we just talked about, right?
Along with the other
Along with the
items-
work things.
Along with the other items of performance requirements in the contract.
Okay, you're agreeing with me with that provision?
I'm agreeing with you with that, but I think it's very important to talk about pages 2 and 3.
Okay. And how do you want, what summary way can I have to refer to that? And the jobs? Is that fair if I just add that when
Well,
I say it?
it's a little bit more than that, yes, but it is may I read? Is that all right?
Just let me know a shorthand way to refer to it, because I'm not trying to cut out the jobs or minimize those.
What is about a minimum payroll of 1.499960 is
And I'm
what
just
I-
gonna, and I'm gonna summarize that as job requirements.
plus
Or
the job.
You wanna say payroll requirements?
plus the
Job and payroll.
right payroll requirement.
Okay, so on this date, you were signing it in order to approve this contract with that Exhibit A, and, because it's the only one that existed, and the payroll and job requirements, correct?
And the caption on that contract.
Is that a correct yes?
That is true.
Okay, so you approved FEMA.
Gentlemen.
Okay.
For the recorder and for the others, we're going to take a quick 5-minute recess.
Okay.